November 2017, we have, and hopefully it'll be in paper one day again, but we still have it online, a wonderful monthly community newspaper called the Tatamagouche Light. And on the front page, the headline said, "There's gold in them thar hills." Well, I just about fainted. And I read the article, which was actually just a press release from the Department of Energy and Mines. It had a different name then, but that's all right. And so that they were going to have an open house because that's required before you start to ask companies to bid to mine the gold in our hills. And so so they had an open house, which I wasn't able to attend, but others did. Within 2 months, we started a group called SuNNS, Sustainable Northern Nova Scotia, who has larger vision, but in particular, our focus has been to stop the province from trying to get tenders to have a company come in and explore for gold, of which there certainly is gold in our hills. And so, you know, here it was that I had been working in human rights solidarity with Guatemalans for all these years and have it in my own backyard. So we organized, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute. And I hope there's somebody timekeeping so that you'll stop me.
Yeah.
But Nancy, thank you.
Yeah.
But to make the story short to this point, and then I'm going to talk about how we did that. We started off with a watershed. Fortunately, because we have a water facility in Tatamagouche, the province requires there to be a watershed protection committee. So we had a watershed protection committee and a municipal council. The watershed protection committee didn't appear to be very interested, but some of them actually were. But in our small town, people have learned never to reveal themselves. And so, but actually some of them were sympathetic, but weren't prepared to quite say that out right at the beginning. And then there was the municipal council. And when we first made a presentation to the municipal council, they rejected any of our concerns about creating a ban on mining in our municipality. I think the vote was maybe 11-1 or something. Like, we started out with no sympathy whatsoever. But we were an interesting and diverse community group, and we hung on, and we started making presentations wherever we could. And we started attending the watershed committees, although we weren't allowed to speak. And we finally got a meeting in our fire hall in Tatamagouche, not having to go to Truro to the municipality, with the councillors of Truro municipality, not the town, and we have which we're a part, Colchester County. And we had a very good presentation by 3 of our members. And one of the questions, and I was saying they were quite resistant, but one of the things that was in the presentation, apart from the potential risks, which are really very high, it almost seemed ludicrous, to be honest, for anyone who knows about gold mining, that you would want to do it in a watershed. The risks of water contamination are so great. But the presentation was made, and one of the points was, if something happens and you have not tried to stop it, you will be legally liable. So that was really a key point for them, at which point they decided that they would direct their staff to work with the Watershed Protection Committee to develop regulations to protect the watershed, including a ban on mining. So that came about, but it also really came about because of some other things. We managed to get small grants from an organization called the Western Mining Association, which probably was the Western Mining Association at one point now, but it's the North American Mining Association, mining resistance, mining network it is really. And they have small grants. And we got one to hire a mining water research specialist from Colorado. Her name is Dr. Ann Maist. We only paid her, I think, about $1,000 US. But she just looked into all the stats and everything she could find. She didn't come here. She did it all by research to indicate that our area of Nova Scotia would likely have acid mine drainage. She wrote a very convincing scientific report. So that also helped us. We got the scientific research that cannot be disputed. Well, except of course the Mining Association of Nova Scotia, who is the lobbyist for mining, they would dispute it, but almost no one else. And so I think that, so we have come to the point where the municipality voted unanimously to send the regulations recommended by the Watershed Protection Committee to the province. But the Department of the Environment now, the regulations were voted on January 31st. They were sent in May, and we still have no response from the Department of the Environment and the Minister, Wilson. So I just want to say that at some point we may need to start at one more of our letter writing campaigns. And if we do, I might come back to you folks to ask you to write letters. But right now, I think we feel that our efforts, which included a tremendous amount of community education and just community participation, walking in our Labor Day parade, things like that with signs where people were clapping along the sides of the road. We didn't know then till then how much the community actually supported and agreed with us. But we had letter writing evenings where people came and wrote together. We did film nights. We did every kind of thing. And, you know, I want to say, I think that that's been as much the success as even for the purpose, but it's not easy. And I want to say that in working in a community group or a church group, that part of the work, I joke sometimes that 80% of political work is actually group dynamics and working to make sure that everyone in the group can agree on things. We work by consensus, which isn't always easy. Although our understanding is that consensus doesn't mean everyone has to agree, but everyone has to agree to say this is okay to go ahead, even if they're not 100%. We have a facilitator for every meeting. We have a very strong rule that you only get to speak once until every other person has had a chance to speak on things. We've believed that we have to educate the community, whether it's through letter writing, through articles in our little community newspaper, through film nights. We've done, I think that we've come a long, long ways, but it is just perseverance. Apparently, Julian Bond, one of the great leaders of the civil rights movement in the States, said that perseverance is the greatest quality of faith. And I would say that's us. It's just perseverance and organizing and doing one step in front of the other and keeping our own group together. We're very different people from very different backgrounds, but we've managed to do that. So I think I might stop there because I think it's probably more useful for you to ask me questions about how our little group in our village of Tatamagouche has managed to turn around a municipal council, and hopefully the province will see fit. I should say one more thing. The reason we might not win, or the reason we might need more support, is probably not because of us. I think Karen Casey, our MLA, we kept her. That's another thing. We've met with Karen Casey many times, or kept her informed. She's been on side. And I think that the Department of Energy and Mines would love to get this through, but it's in cabinet. It's not, it's at the political level now. But because it's mining for gold is a much, much larger issue now in Nova Scotia. Almost everywhere in Nova Scotia is staked for mining with almost no knowledge by the citizenry. They may say no to us, even though I think they want to say yes. Yes, we agree to ban mining. They may say no because of the pressures to have mining throughout our province with the environmental devastation. But so far, so good. So I think we're quite hopeful that the regulations will get passed on mining. And it also improves some of our, because it's a watershed designation, it was an opportunity to improve the protection of our watershed in general. So there were quite a few other regulations that are being recommended as well. But I want to stick with the mining.
Over how long a period